Have you ever experienced a moment so humiliating you wish the ground would swallow you whole? For 18-year-old Lily Anderson, that moment came on what should have been the happiest day of her life. Standing in her white gown, surrounded by hundreds of guests, she unfolded a note from her fiancé that shattered her world in an instant. "I can't marry you. Jessica is pregnant with my baby." As laughter and whispers spread through the church, phones recording her breakdown from every angle, Lily's dream turned into a viral nightmare. But just as the cruel humiliation reached its peak, the church doors burst open, and Alexander Stone, Boston's most mysterious billionaire, walked down the aisle toward her. What happened next would change both their lives forever and prove that sometimes your worst moment can lead to your greatest happiness. 18-year-old virgin was humiliated at her wedding, but a millionaire stood up and did. The summer sun streamed through the stained glass windows of St. Mary's Church, casting rainbow patterns across Lily Anderson's white satin gown. At just 18, her honey blonde hair was pinned beneath a delicate veil, her hands trembling as she clutched a bouquet of white roses. Outside, the bells chimed 1 o'clock, the hour when dreams were supposed to come true. "You look beautiful, sweetie," her mother whispered, adjusting the veil. "Like an angel." Lily forced a smile, but something felt wrong. Tyler was 30 minutes late. Maybe his car broke down? Lily's younger sister, Emma, suggested, checking her phone for the 100th time. "I'm sure he'll be here any minute." The church was packed with over 200 guests, family, friends, classmates from their small town of Westbrook. Whispers grew louder as the minutes ticked by. Lily felt her chest tighten, finding it harder to breathe in her corseted dress. "Where's Jessica?" Lily suddenly asked, realizing her maid of honor and best friend since kindergarten was nowhere. To be seen. The church doors burst open. Everyone turned, expecting the groom. But instead, Tyler's best man Ryan rushed in, his face pale, clutching an envelope. I'm sorry, Lily," he stammered, avoiding her eyes. "Tyler asked me to give you this." The church fell silent as Lily's trembling fingers opened the envelope. Her eyes scanned the hastily written note, each word a bullet to her heart. "Lily, I can't do this. I'm so sorry. Jessica's pregnant with my baby. We've been seeing each other for months. Please forgive me someday. Tyler." The note slipped from her fingers, floating to the ground like a dead leaf. For one terrible moment, silence engulfed the church. Then came the whispers, growing louder. "Oh my God, did she say Jessica is pregnant? With Tyler's baby? Her own maid of honor? What a fool!" Lily stood frozen at the altar, humiliation burning through her veins like acid. Someone's phone camera flashed. Then another, and another. Look at her face. This is going viral for sure. The virgin bride left at the altar. Laughter erupted from the back pews. Tyler's college friends, already half drunk from the pre-wedding champagne. Someone started a slow clap that rippled through sections of the church. "Poor little Lily," called out Brittany, Jessica's cousin, "still saving herself for marriage while your man's been busy making babies with your bestie." Tears streamed down Lily's face, mascara tracing black rivers down her cheeks. Her father stood up, face red with rage, but was too overcome with emotion to speak. Her mother sobbed into a handkerchief. "I need to get out of here," Lily whispered, but her legs wouldn't move. The room spun around her as phones recorded her breakdown from every angle. Just as she thought she might collapse, the massive church doors slammed open. A tall figure stood silhouetted against the bright sunlight. As he stepped into the church, conversations died instantly. Even those recording lowered their phones. Alexander Stone moved with the confidence of a man who commanded respect without asking for it. At 35, his sharp features, penetrating blue eyes, and salt and pepper hair made him unmistakable to anyone who read business magazines or followed Boston's elite. "What the hell is going on here?" His deep voice cut through the silence like thunder. No one answered as he strode down the aisle, Italian leather shoes echoing against marble. He stopped directly in front of Lily, his expression softening momentarily as he took in her tear-stained face. "Put those damn phones away," he ordered without looking away from her. "Now!" Phones disappeared instantly. "You don't even know me," Lily whispered, mortification washing over her. "I know enough," Alexander replied quietly, shrugging off his tailored Armani jacket and placing it gently around her shoulders. "No one deserves this." He turned to address the stunned congregation, voice ice cold. "If any videos of this young woman appear online, I will personally ensure those responsible face consequences. Stone Enterprises has an excellent legal team." To Lily's mother, he said, "Mrs. Anderson, I'm taking your daughter somewhere safe. You're welcome to follow in your car." Without waiting for permission, Alexander placed his hand on the small of Lily's back and guided her down the aisle. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. "Why are you helping me?" Lily whispered, barely able to walk in her wedding heels. "Because 7 years ago I was left standing at an altar too," he murmured, so only she could hear. "But no one stood up for me." Outside, a sleek black Bentley waited. Alexander helped Lily inside before turning to her parents. "I'm taking her to my home in Beacon Hill. She needs peace right now, away from all this. Here's my card. Come whenever you're ready." As the car pulled away, Lily caught a final glimpse of the church where her dreams had died. She didn't know it yet, but this devastating day was actually the beginning of something extraordinary. "They'll all regret laughing at you today," Alexander said quietly, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. "I promise you that, Lily Anderson." She turned to look at the stranger who had rescued her, wondering how her life had shattered and reformed. "In the space of an hour, why would someone like you care about someone like me?" she asked through tears. Alexander's grip tightened on the steering wheel, his jaw clenched. "Because I know what it's like to have your heart ripped out in front of an audience," he said, "and I've spent years making sure no one ever makes me feel that way again." Little did Lily know that this mysterious millionaire had secrets of his, old wounds that had never healed, and demons he fought daily. The humiliation she'd endured would soon pale in comparison to the storm that awaited her in Alexander Stone's world. But for now, as the church disappeared in the distance, all she felt was numb gratitude that someone, anyone, had been kind when the world had been so unspeakably cruel. Alexander's Bentley glided through the streets of Boston like a ghost ship on a dark sea. Lily sat motionless in her crumpled wedding dress, tears dried on her cheeks, staring vacantly out the window. The world outside seemed to move in slow motion. Happy couples holding hands, families laughing together, normal lives untouched by the kind of public humiliation she'd just endured. "They're already posting about it online," she whispered, scrolling through her phone with trembling fingers. Someone captioned a photo, "Virgin bride dumped for pregnant BFF." It has hundreds of shares already. Alexander reached over and gently took her phone away. "Social media is a cancer. You don't need to see that right now. But everyone will know," Lily's voice cracked. "Everyone will laugh at me. Let them laugh." Alexander's voice hardened. "Small people mock what they don't understand. Trust me, this moment won't define you unless you let it." The car turned onto Beacon Hill, Boston's most prestigious neighborhood. Massive historic homes lined cobblestone streets, each one more impressive than the last. Finally, they pulled up to a stunning red brick mansion with black shutters and a wrought iron gate. "You live here?" Lily asked, momentarily distracted from her misery. "One of my properties," Alexander replied matter-of-factly as the gate swung, open automatically. "It was my grandfather's. I prefer it to my penthouse downtown. Fewer neighbors, more privacy." The Bentley stopped at the grand entrance. Before Lily could reach for the door handle, Alexander was there, opening it for her. As she tried to stand, her legs buckled beneath her, the emotional trauma finally taking its physical toll. Without hesitation, Alexander scooped her into his arms as if she weighed nothing at all. Lily should have protested, should have felt embarrassed, but all she felt was numb gratitude as he carried her up the marble steps. "Martha!" Alexander called as they entered the soaring foyer. "I need your help!" An elegant woman in her 60s appeared almost instantly. Her silver hair swept into a neat bun. Her eyes widened at the sight of Lily in her wedding dress. "Oh, dear heaven," Martha gasped. "What's happened?" "This is Lily Anderson. She's had a difficult day and needs a safe place to stay," Alexander explained, his tone brooking no questions. "Prepare the blue guest suite, please, and find her something comfortable to wear." "Of course, Mr. Stone," Martha nodded, hurrying up the grand staircase. Alexander carried Lily into a plush sitting room and gently placed her on a velvet sofa. He knelt before her, his intense blue eyes meeting hers. "You're safe here," he said, quietly. "No reporters, no social media vultures, no gossips, just peace until you decide what you want to do next." "Why?" Lily managed to ask, her voice barely audible. "Why would you do this for a stranger?" Alexander's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Because 7 years ago, I was you, left standing alone on what should have been the happiest day of my life. The difference is, I had wealth and power to shield me from the worst of it. You have nothing, no defense against their cruelty." "I don't understand," Lily whispered. "Why would anyone leave you at the altar?" A shadow crossed his face. "That's a story for another time." Martha returned with a warm cup of tea, which she pressed into Lily's hands. "Drink this, dear. It'll help with the shock." "I've called my doctor," Alexander informed her. "He'll be here shortly to give you something to help you sleep. Tomorrow will be soon enough to face everything." "My parents," Lily suddenly remembered. "They must be worried sick." "They've been informed where you are," Alexander assured her. "I've arranged for a car to bring them here tomorrow morning. Tonight you need rest." Martha helped Lily upstairs to a breathtaking bedroom suite decorated in soothing shades of blue and cream. The king-sized 4-poster bed looked like something from a fairy tale, and the adjoining bathroom featured a marble tub big enough to swim in. "Let's get you out of this dress, sweetheart," Martha said kindly, helping Lily unfasten the countless, tiny buttons down her back. Each one felt like removing a piece of a dream that had died. As the wedding gown pooled at her feet, Lily caught sight of herself in the full-length mirror, standing in just her white slip, looking impossibly young and vulnerable. A fresh wave of tears overwhelmed her. "He never loved me," she sobbed, as Martha wrapped her in a plush robe. "All those promises, and he was sleeping with Jessica the whole time." "Men can be cruel creatures," Martha said softly, guiding Lily to sit on the edge of the bed. "But not all of them. Mr. Stone, he's different." "Who is he, really?" Lily asked, wiping her tears. "Why would someone like him care about someone like me?" Martha's expression softened. "Mr. Stone has his own demons and scars. Perhaps in helping you, he's also helping himself." She hesitated. "I've worked for him for 12 years, and I've never seen him bring anyone to this house before. Not like this." A gentle knock interrupted them. Alexander stood in the doorway, with a distinguished older man carrying a medical bag. "This is Dr. Winters," Alexander explained. "He's going to check you over and give you something to help you sleep." "I don't want to be alone," Lily whispered, suddenly terrified of being left with her thoughts. Alexander's expression softened. "Martha will stay with you until you fall asleep, and I'll be right down the hall if you need anything." Later, as the sedative began to take effect, Lily felt herself drifting into blessed unconsciousness. Before sleep claimed her completely, she heard Martha and Alexander speaking quietly in the hallway. "She's just a child, Alexander," Martha warned, "broken and vulnerable." "I know what she is," Alexander replied, his voice firm but gentle. "And I know what it's like to have your heart shattered in public. No one helped me then. I'm just doing what should be done. And when she's healed, what then?" Alexander was silent for a long moment before answering. "Then I'll help her become someone. No one will ever dare to humiliate again." As Lily finally surrendered to sleep, her last conscious thought was wondering if she'd woken up in a fairy tale or stumbled into something far more dangerous than she could possibly understand. Lily woke to unfamiliar silk sheets and the gentle morning light filtering through heavy blue curtains. For one blissful moment, she'd forgotten everything. Then reality crashed down like a demolished building, burying her beneath its weight. She wasn't Mrs. Tyler Parker. She was Lily Anderson, the abandoned bride, the laughingstock of Westbrook. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Lily reached for it instinctively, then froze. 57 missed calls, 132 text messages, and hundreds of notifications from social media. With trembling fingers, she opened the first video. It had over 50,000 views already. Jilted, virgin bride, left for pregnant BFF. The camera focused cruelly on her tear-streaked face as Ryan delivered Tyler's letter. The comments were even worse. Bet she wishes she'd put out now, LOL. Plain Jane got what she deserved. Who waits for marriage these days? No wonder he got bored. Lily dropped the phone as if it had burned her, a strangled sob escaping her throat. A soft knock at the door preceded Martha's entrance, carrying a breakfast tray. Her kind eyes immediately registered Lily's distress. "Oh, sweetheart, you shouldn't be looking at that garbage," she sighed, setting down the tray and gently taking the phone from Lily's hand. Mr. Stone was right. Nothing good comes from those hellish devices when you're hurting. It's everywhere. Lily whispered, her voice raw. "Everyone's laughing at me." "Let them laugh," Martha said firmly, pouring a cup of steaming tea. "Small town folks with small town minds. You're above them now." "Above them?" Lily's laugh was hollow. "I'm nobody. Just a stupid girl who believed in fairy tales." "You're a guest of Alexander Stone," Martha corrected, adding honey to the tea. "And that means something in this world, whether you realize it yet or not." Lily accepted the cup with shaking hands. "My parents, they must be worried sick. They called this morning. They're on their way, but there was an accident on the highway. They'll be here in a few hours." Martha opened the curtains fully, letting sunshine flood the room. "In the meantime, Mr. Stone has asked to see you when you're ready. There's a robe in the closet and fresh clothes in the dresser." After Martha left, Lily forced herself to eat a few bites of toast before showering. The bathroom was larger than her entire bedroom at home, with marble surfaces and gold fixtures. The shower had multiple jets that seemed to wash away not just the dried tears, but some of the previous day's pain. She found clothes in the dresser, all new with tags still attached. Somehow, they were exactly her size. Soft jeans, cashmere, sweaters, delicate underwear from expensive brands she'd only seen in magazines. Lily chose the simplest outfit, jeans and a cream-colored sweater, and made her way downstairs. She found Alexander in a stunning library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and leather chairs. He stood by a massive window overlooking manicured gardens, reading something on his tablet. When she entered, he looked up, his expression unreadable. "How did you sleep?" he asked, setting down the tablet. "Better than I should have," Lily admitted. "Thank you for everything." Alexander gestured to a chair. "Sit, please. We need to talk about what happens next." "Next?" Lily sank into the buttery leather. "I don't even know what's happening now." "What's happening is that you've become an internet sensation, unfortunately." Alexander's voice was matter-of-fact, but not unkind. "My security team has been monitoring the situation. Despite my warning, several guests uploaded videos. They've gone viral." Tears pricked Lily's eyes. "I can never go back there." "No, you can't," Alexander agreed. "At least not now. Small towns have long memories but short attention spans. Eventually, something else will happen. So what do I do? Hide here forever?" Alexander's intense gaze seemed to see straight through her. "What were your plans before all this? College? Career?" Lily looked down at her hands. "I was supposed to start at Boston University next month. Literature program. Tyler was going to Northeastern for business. We were going to get an apartment together." Her voice cracked. "All those dreams gone." "Not gone," Alexander corrected firmly. "Just changed. You can still attend BU." "How?" "Everyone will know who I am. There's the girl from that video." "I can't bear it." Alexander leaned forward. "Lily, look at me." When she raised her eyes, he continued, "What happened to you was cruel and unforgivable, but you have two choices now. Let it destroy you or use it to become stronger than you ever imagined possible." "I don't know how to be strong," she whispered. "I've never had to be." "Then let me help you," Alexander said quietly. "Stay here while you heal. This house has plenty of room, and Martha would love the company. You'll be safe, away from prying eyes and gossip." Before Lily could respond, Martha appeared at the door. "Mr. Stone, there's a situation. That reporter from the Globe is at the gate again, and she's not alone. There are several news vans." Alexander cursed under his breath. "They found out you're here." Lily felt the blood drain from her face. "How?" "Someone at the church must have recognized me and put it together," Alexander said grimly. "My intervention yesterday is now part of the story. Boston billionaire rescues jilted bride. It's too sensational for them to ignore." "I need to leave," Lily said frantically. "I'm bringing all this trouble to your door." "You're not going anywhere," Alexander cut her off firmly. "Martha, activate Security Protocol 3. No statements, no comments. And have James bring the car around to the back entrance, just in case." After Martha hurried away, Lily stared at Alexander in disbelief. "Why are you doing all this for me? You don't even know me." Alexander was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice held an emotion Lily couldn't quite identify. 7 years ago, I was left at the altar by Claire Winters. She decided at the last minute that she was in love with my brother instead." His eyes darkened with old pain. "The humiliation nearly destroyed me. The difference is I had wealth and power to shield me from the worst of it. You have nothing." "So this is charity?" Lily asked, her voice small. "No," Alexander's voice was sharp. "This is one wounded soul recognizing another, but there's something more, Lily." He hesitated. "I have a proposition for you, one that could solve both our problems." Lily felt a strange flutter in her chest, fear mixed with something else she didn't dare name. "What kind of proposition?" Alexander's blue eyes locked with hers. "One that will ensure Tyler, Parker, and Jessica regret what they did to you for the rest of their miserable lives." Outside, the sound of reporters calling questions grew louder. But inside the library's quiet sanctuary, Lily felt something new and dangerous awakening within her, the first stirrings of a desire for justice, or perhaps revenge. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Alexander's study as he slid a sleek leather folder across his mahogany desk toward Lily. Her parents had finally arrived an hour earlier, and after an emotional reunion and lengthy, private conversation with Alexander, they'd left again, looking strangely satisfied, despite the circumstances. "What did you say to my parents?" Lily asked, staring at the closed folder without touching it. Alexander leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled beneath his chin. "I assured them you would be safe here, that I would look after your interests. That's all. And they just left just like that?" Her voice cracked. "After everything? They're worried about your sister Emma. The attention from the press has been difficult. Reporters camping outside your family home, people calling at all hours." His eyes darkened. "Some threats." Lily felt sick. "Threats? Because of me? Because of Tyler and Jessica's cruelty, not you," Alexander corrected sharply. "Your family needs time away from the spotlight. I've arranged for them to stay at my lake house in Vermont for a few weeks. So I'm alone," Lily whispered. "You're with me," Alexander replied simply. "Open the folder, Lily." With trembling fingers, she flipped open the leather cover. Inside was a document headed "Personal Companion Agreement" in elegant typescript. Her eyes widened as she skimmed. The first paragraph. "A contract. You want me to be your... what exactly?" Alexander's expression remained impassive. "My social companion. Nothing inappropriate, nothing sexual. You would accompany me to business dinners, charity events, gallery openings, the kind of social obligations a man in my position is expected to attend." Lily blinked in confusion. "But why me? You could have anyone. Models, actresses, socialites. precisely why I don't want them, Alexander said dryly. I'm tired of fortune hunters and fame seekers. You, on the other hand, need an escape from your current situation and a fresh start. Lily continued reading, her eyes growing wider at each clause. 3 months? Living here? A monthly allowance? She gasped at the figure. This is more money than I'd make in 5 years of working full-time. It's fair compensation for what I'm asking, Alexander said. Your time, your discretion, your willingness to learn. Learn what? How to move in my world, how to dress, speak, behave in high society. Martha will help with that, Alexander explained. You'll need a new wardrobe, etiquette lessons, some basic knowledge of art, wine, business. I have certain standards for anyone who appears on my arm in public. Lily swallowed hard. And what happens when people recognize me as the jilted bride? A ghost of a smile touched Alexander's lips. That's the beauty of it. By the time we make our first public appearance, you'll look different. Designer clothes, new hairstyle. You'll be introduced as Lily Carter, my distant cousin from Seattle, visiting Boston indefinitely. You want me to lie about who I am? I want you to become someone new, someone stronger. Alexander's voice softened almost imperceptibly. The Lily Anderson who was left at the altar ceases to exist the moment you sign that contract. In her place will be a confident, sophisticated woman whom no one would dare humiliate. Lily's fingers traced the heavy paper, her mind reeling. What about BU? My classes start in a month. You can defer for a semester or take online courses if you prefer, Alexander offered. Part of your compensation includes a fund for your education. Lily tried to process everything. It felt impossible, surreal, like a movie plot rather than her actual life. This is crazy. I barely know you. Sometimes the people we barely know change our lives more profoundly than those we've known forever, Alexander replied. Think about Tyler. You thought you knew him. How did that work out? The casual cruelty of his words stung, but Lily couldn't deny their truth. Tears welled in her eyes. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Lily. That's your first lesson. Alexander stood, moving to the window. What happened to you was monstrous, but I'm offering you a chance to rise from the ashes. 3 months. That's all I ask. After that, you can go anywhere, be anyone, with enough money to start completely fresh. And what do you really get out of this? Lily demanded. There must be something. Alexander turned, his blue eyes suddenly cold as winter. Revenge. Against who? Tyler and Jessica? They mean nothing to you. Not against them, against someone else. Alexander's jaw tightened. But our paths will cross with your ex-fiancé and form a friend. I promise you that. And when they see you transformed, poised on the arm of one of Boston's wealthiest men, they'll realize exactly what they threw away. A strange, unfamiliar warmth spread through Lily's chest. Not love or affection, but something darker, something powerful. The possibility of seeing Tyler's face when he realized what he'd lost. And if I say no, she asked quietly, then I'll arrange for you to go wherever you wish. Provide enough funds for a fresh start. No obligations. Alexander returned to his desk. I'm not forcing you into anything, Lily. This is your choice. Lily stared at the contract, her mind racing. Everything in her life had been decided by others. Her parents, her teachers, Tyler. For once, the decision was entirely hers. I'll need time to think, she said finally. Of course, take all the time you need. Alexander gestured toward the door. Martha will show you to the gardens. They're quite peaceful, a good place to clear your head. Later, as Lily walked among roses and carefully trimmed hedges, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. With shaking hands, she opened it to find a video clip. Tyler and Jessica laughing together outside a cafe, her baby bump clearly visible. The caption read, "Sorry about the wedding. Guess things worked out for the best. XOXO, tears of humiliation." Turned to something harder, colder, as Lily marched back to the house. She found Alexander in his study, exactly where she'd left him. Without a word, She picked up an expensive fountain pen from his desk, flipped to the last page of the contract, and signed her name with a flourish. "I'll do it," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "Turn me into someone they'll regret losing." Alexander's eyes gleamed with something that might have been approval, or perhaps something far more dangerous. "We begin tomorrow," he said, simply taking the contract and locking it in his desk drawer. "Be ready at 7. As Lily turned to leave, Alexander called after her, "Lily, one more thing." When she looked back, he added, "You might have lost a wedding day, but you've gained something far more valuable." "What's that?" she asked. "The chance to write your own story, instead of living the one others wrote for you." As the door closed behind her, Lily didn't see the darkness that passed over Alexander's face, or hear him whisper to himself, "And you, my dear, are now the perfect instrument for my own revenge." 4 weeks had transformed Lily Anderson into someone she barely recognized. Standing before the full-length mirror in her suite, she stared at her reflection in wonder. The timid, small-town girl was gone. In her place stood an elegant stranger with confidence in her eyes. "You look stunning," Martha said, adjusting the sapphire pendant that hung at Lily's throat. A prop, Alexander had insisted, completed her look. "Mr. Stone will be impressed." Lily smoothed the midnight blue designer dress that hugged her newly toned body, the result of daily sessions with Alexander's personal trainer. Her once mousy hair now fell in honey gold waves past her shoulders, professionally colored and styled. Even her posture had changed, back straight, chin slightly lifted, as Alexander had drilled into her during their etiquette lessons. I'm terrified," Lily admitted, her stomach churning. "What if someone recognizes me?" "They won't," Martha assured her, applying a final touch of setting spray to Lily's expertly applied makeup. "The Lily Anderson from that viral video doesn't exist anymore. You're Lily Carter now, Alexander's sophisticated cousin from Seattle." They'd rehearsed her backstory extensively. Raised by her mother in Seattle, educated at a private school, studying literature with plans for graduate work. Simple enough to remember, detailed enough to sound authentic, vague enough to prevent extensive questioning. "And if someone does recognize me?" Lily's voice trembled. "Then you look them in the eye and smile," came Alexander's voice from the doorway. He stood there in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo, bow tie impeccably knotted, platinum cufflinks gleaming at his wrists. Lily's breath caught. In the month she'd lived under his roof, she'd never gotten used to how his presence filled a room. "Never show fear," he continued, walking toward her. "Fear gives others power over you. Tonight, you take your power back." "I don't know if I can do this," Lily whispered. Alexander stopped directly in front of her, his blue eyes intense. "You can and you will. I've invested too much in you to watch you crumble now." His voice softened slightly as he added, "Besides, I need you tonight. The dean's reception at Harvard is crucial for my new research foundation." That was her role, to be charming, intelligent, and make Alexander look good to potential donors and university officials. They'd practiced small talk, memorized key facts about his philanthropic work, rehearsed subtle signals he could give her if she needed to exit a conversation or change topics. "Time to go," Alexander said, checking his watch. "The car is waiting." The drive to Harvard was silent, Lily's mind racing with everything she needed to remember. When the Bentley finally pulled up to the illuminated facade of the university's prestigious faculty club, her mouth went dry. "Wait," she said, as Alexander reached for the door handle. What if Tyler and Jessica are there? You said they're at Northeastern, but what if—" "They won't be," Alexander interrupted. "This is an exclusive event for major donors and faculty." Despite his reassurance, Lily's stomach knotted with anxiety as they walked toward the entrance, Alexander's hand firmly at the small of her back. The reception was already underway, the elegant room filled with Boston's elite in evening wear. Heads turned as they entered. Alexander Stone always commanded attention, and tonight, with a beautiful young woman on his arm, the whispers were immediate. Remember, Alexander murmured, shoulders back, small smile, direct eye contact. For the first hour, it went better than Lily could have hoped. She chatted with professors, charmed the dean's wife, and gracefully fielded questions about her. Background. Alexander stayed close, his hand occasionally touching her elbow or back, subtle gestures that somehow steadied her nerves. Then she heard it, a laugh she would recognize anywhere. Tyler's laugh. Lily froze mid-sentence, her champagne glass nearly slipping from her fingers. Alexander caught it smoothly, his eyes instantly alert to her distress. "What is it?" he asked quietly. "Tyler," she whispered. "He's here. I heard him." Alexander's jaw tightened. "Where?" Before she could answer, the crowd shifted, revealing Tyler and Jessica standing near the dessert table. She was wearing a stretchy, black dress that showcased her small baby bump, while he looked uncomfortable in a rented tuxedo. Next to them stood an older man, Lily recognized as Tyler's uncle, a Harvard economics professor. "That's why they're here," Alexander realized. Family connection. Lily felt the room spinning. "I need to leave now." "No." Alexander's voice was steel. "You will not run. You will show them exactly what they lost." "I can't," Lily pleaded. Alexander took her face in his hands, forcing her to look at him. "Listen to me. You're no longer that broken girl crying in a wedding dress. You're Lily Carter, my Lily, and you're about to break their hearts." Before she could protest further, Alexander took her hand and led her directly toward the dessert table. Each step felt like moving through quicksand, but something in Alexander's determined grip kept her moving forward. Tyler saw them first. His eyes widened, then narrowed in confusion as he took in Lily's transformed appearance. When recognition finally dawned, his champagne glass halted halfway to his mouth. "Hello, Tyler." Alexander smiled coldly. "And Jessica, is it? Forgive me for not introducing myself properly at the church." Alexander Stone. Jessica's face drained. "Of color. You're the man who rescued my cousin from having to witness a truly tasteless spectacle?" "Yes." Alexander's arms slipped around Lily's waist. "Lily, darling, these are..." The moment stretched like glass about to shatter. Lily felt something shift inside her, rage crystallizing into ice-cold resolve. She lifted her chin and met Tyler's shocked stare. "No one important," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "Just some people I used to know from my hometown." "Lily," Tyler stammered. "Is that really you? You look so different." "It's Lily Carter," she corrected smoothly. "And yes, I suppose I am different now." Jessica clutched Tyler's arm. "What are you doing here?" "My cousin is one of the university's most generous benefactors," Lily replied, feeling Alexander's approving squeeze on her waist. "I've been staying with him in Boston while preparing for graduate school." "Cousin?" Tyler's bewilderment was almost comical. "But you never mentioned..." "There were many things Lily didn't share with you," Alexander cut in. "A wise decision in retrospect." Jessica's gaze darted between them suspiciously. "You two don't look like cousins." "How fortunate for me," Alexander replied with a predatory smile, pulling Lily closer. "Now, if you'll excuse us, the dean is waiting." As they turned away, Tyler grabbed Lily's arm. "Wait, can we talk? Privately, I need to explain." Alexander's hand clamped over Tyler's wrist, removing it from Lily's arm with such force that Tyler winced. "Touch her again," Alexander said quietly, "and I'll ensure you never graduate from any university in this country. Are we clear?" The naked fear in Tyler's eyes was answer enough. As they walked away, Lily felt something she hadn't experienced in months: power. Seeing the shock and regret on Tyler's face had awakened something new inside her. "Thank you," she whispered to Alexander as they crossed the room. Instead of responding, Alexander turned to her, something dangerous glittering in his eyes. Without warning, he pulled her into his arms and kissed her, not the chaste kiss of a cousin, but a claiming, passionate kiss that left her breathless and sent audible whispers through the crowd. When he finally released her, his smile held triumph. "Now they know exactly what he lost," he murmured against her ear. "And what "I found." Across the room, Lily saw Tyler watching them, his expression a mixture of confusion, jealousy, and dawning realization. For the first time since her wedding day, Lily smiled with genuine pleasure, even as she wondered if she'd just traded one dangerous situation for another, far more complex. The Bentley's engine hummed softly as they left Harvard behind, the city lights of Boston twinkling like fallen stars. Alexander sat beside Lily, his face illuminated by the passing streetlights, creating a rhythm of light and shadow across his sharp features. Neither had spoken since leaving the reception. Lily's mind replayed the kiss over and over, the unexpected warmth of his lips, the possessive way his hand had pressed against her lower back, the collective gasp from onlookers. It wasn't part of their agreement. It wasn't in the contract. "You kissed me," she finally said, her voice barely audible above the car's engine. Alexander's eyes remained fixed on the road ahead. "I did." "Why?" She turned to face him, heart pounding against her ribs. "That wasn't part of our arrangement." "It was necessary," he replied coolly. "Tyler needed to see that you've moved on completely, that you belong to someone else now." "I don't belong to anyone," Lily snapped, surprising herself with her boldness. Weeks of etiquette training and confidence building had changed her in ways she was only beginning to understand. Alexander's mouth curved slightly. "No? Then why are you wearing my mother's sapphires? Why are you living in my house? Why did you tremble when I touched you?" Heat flooded Lily's cheeks. "That's not fair. Our agreement was professional. You said nothing inappropriate, nothing—" "I know what I said," Alexander cut her off. "But plans change, Lily. Strategies evolve." His voice softened dangerously. "Tell me you didn't enjoy seeing the look on Tyler's face when I kissed you." She couldn't lie. The shock and jealousy in Tyler's eyes had given her a savage satisfaction she'd never felt before. "That's beside the point," she managed. "Is it?" Alexander looked at her fully now, his blue eyes intense in the dim light. "What exactly did you think this arrangement was leading to? Why do you think I chose you specifically?" "Because I was convenient," Lily whispered. "A perfect victim for your charity." Alexander's laugh was without humor. "I don't do charity, Lily. Every move I make has purpose. Every person I keep close serves a function." "And what's my function?" Lily demanded, tears threatening. Despite her best efforts, am I just revenge against Tyler, or is there someone else you're trying to hurt? The car pulled into the driveway of the mansion, gravel crunching beneath its tires. Alexander didn't answer until the engine switched off, leaving them in silence. "There are things about me you don't understand," he said finally. "Things I've never told you." "Then tell me now," Lily challenged. "What am I really doing here, Alexander?" For a moment she thought he might actually answer. Then his expression shuttered, the vulnerability gone as quickly as it had appeared. "It's late," he said dismissively. "We'll talk tomorrow." Frustration and hurt bubbled in Lily's chest as she watched him stride into the house without looking back. She remained in the car, tears finally spilling down her cheeks, smearing the carefully applied makeup that had been part of her disguise. Later, unable to sleep, Lily wandered the dark halls of the mansion. The vastness of the house felt oppressive tonight, its luxury a gilded cage. She found herself drawn to the library, the only place where she truly felt at peace. She didn't expect to find Alexander there, sitting in the dark, a glass of whiskey in his hand. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked without looking up. "No." Lily hesitated in the doorway. "I can go." "Stay," he said, the single word both command and plea. She moved cautiously into the room, taking the chair opposite his. In the dim light from the single lamp, Alexander looked older, the lines around his eyes more pronounced, his shoulders bearing some invisible weight. "I was married once," he said abruptly, "before Claire left me at the altar." Lily stilled, sensing she was about to hear something important. Her name was Rebecca. "We were very young. I was building my first company. She was finishing art school." Alexander swirled the amber liquid in his glass. "We had a son, Nathan." Lily's breath caught. You have a son? Had. The word fell between them like a stone. Nathan died when he was 6. Car accident. Rebecca was driving. The pain in his voice was raw, as if the wound had been inflicted yesterday rather than years ago. I'm so sorry, Lily whispered, her own problems suddenly seeming small. Rebecca couldn't live with the guilt. She took her own life 3 months later. Alexander's eyes were distant, seeing ghosts instead of the present. I buried my wife and son within a year. That changes a man, Lily. Of course it does, she said gently, fighting the urge to go to him, to offer some comfort for this unimaginable pain. When Claire left me at the altar years later, it wasn't the humiliation that destroyed me. It was the reminder that nothing I love stays. His gaze finally met hers, so I stopped trying to love anything. Understanding dawned on Lily with crushing clarity. That's why you helped me. You saw yourself in me, not just the public humiliation, but the loss. Alexander set down his glass. Perhaps, but it's become complicated. Because of the kiss? Lily asked, her heart pounding. Because I find myself caring what happens to you, he admitted, looking almost angry at the confession. That wasn't. And part of the plan. What was the plan? She pressed. Alexander stood abruptly, moving to the window. Claire is engaged again, to a prominent surgeon. The wedding is in 2 months. Lily felt as if she'd been doused in cold water. And you wanted to show up with someone younger and more beautiful, to make her jealous. Initially, yes. Alexander didn't deny it. You were to be my revenge against Claire, just as I was helping you get revenge against Tyler. So I'm just a pawn in your game, Lily said, hurt blooming in her chest. A pretty trophy to parade in front of your ex. You were, Alexander corrected, turning to face her. But now I find myself conflicted. Why? Because when I kissed you tonight, it wasn't for show. His voice dropped. And I think you know that. The air between them seemed to crackle with tension. Lily stood slowly, uncertain what to do with this confession. I should go, she whispered. Running away again, Alexander challenged softly. No, protecting myself. Lily wrapped her arms around her middle. I was engaged 6 weeks ago, Alexander. I thought I loved Tyler. I thought he loved me. I can't just... I'm not asking you for anything, he interrupted. I'm simply being honest about where we stand. And where is that exactly? Alexander moved toward her, stopping when only inches separated them. She could smell his cologne, the whiskey on his breath. I don't know, he admitted. This isn't part of my carefully ordered world. You weren't supposed to be anything but a means to an end. And now? Lily asked, her voice barely audible. Now I find myself thinking about you when you're not around, wondering what makes you smile, what makes you cry. His hand lifted to her face, fingers brushing her cheek with surprising gentleness. It's unsettling. Lily closed her eyes, overwhelmed by the conflicting emotions surging through her. I'm afraid, she confessed, of me, of being hurt again, of being used. She opened her eyes to meet his gaze, of finding out this is just another game I don't understand the rules to. Alexander's expression softened. I've never been good at matters of the heart, Lily. Not since I lost my family, but I promise you this, whatever happens between us will be your choice. Not mine, not anyone else's. He stepped back, creating distance between them. The contract still stands. Nothing has changed unless you want it to. As he walked away, Lily called after him. Alexander, have you ever told anyone else about Nathan? He paused at the door, his back to her. No, never. Why me? She asked. Alexander turned slightly, his profile outlined against the hallway light. Because when I'm with you, I remember what it was like to feel something other than anger or emptiness. And that terrifies me more than you could possibly understand. After he left, Lily remained in the library until dawn broke, wondering if she was healing from her past wounds or simply collecting new ones that would cut even deeper. Morning sunlight spilled across the breakfast table, but Alexander hadn't touched his coffee. 2 days had passed since their late-night conversation in the library. 2 days of careful distance and polite exchanges that felt like strangers passing in a hallway. Lily watched him from across the table, noting the dark circles under his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. He was reading something on his tablet, his expression growing grimmer with each swipe of his finger. "Bad news?" she finally asked, breaking the silence. Alexander looked up, seeming almost surprised to find her there. "Tyler posted about seeing you at the Harvard event. It's going viral." Lily's stomach clenched. "What did he say?" Alexander handed her the tablet. On the screen was Tyler's social media post. "Guess who I ran into last night? The runaway bride. Herself, Lily Anderson, now playing dress-up as Boston millionaire Alexander Stone's cousin. Wonder what other family benefits she's enjoying. Ye gold digger. You're moving up." Beneath it were hundreds of comments, most of them cruel, speculating about Lily's relationship with Alexander in the most degrading terms possible. Someone had snapped a photo of them at the event, Alexander's hand possessively at her waist, their faces close together. "I'm sorry," Alexander said quietly. "I've already contacted my legal team. The post will be removed for defamation, but the damage is done," Lily finished, tears burning behind her eyes. "It never ends, does it? Just when I think I'm moving past it all, something pulls me back into the nightmare." Alexander set down his coffee cup with deliberate care. "I have a dinner tonight at the Winters estate. Robert Winters is a key investor in my new medical research foundation." "You want me to stay home?" Lily guessed, feeling a stab of hurt despite herself. "No," Alexander corrected. "I want you to come with me and show Tyler, show all of them, that their words cannot touch you, by pretending to be your cousin again." The bitterness in her voice surprised even her. "No, by being exactly who you are." Alexander's eyes locked with hers. "My companion, nothing more, nothing less. And when they ask about Tyler's post, about us, we tell them the truth, that I rescued you from a humiliating situation, that you're staying with me while rebuilding your life, that the rest is no one's business." He reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. "But before we face them, there's somewhere I need to take you. Get dressed. Casual clothes." An hour later, they were driving out of Boston, heading north in Alexander's less ostentatious Range Rover. Lily watched the city give way to suburbs, then to the rolling countryside of Massachusetts. Alexander drove in silence, his hands tight on the steering wheel. Finally, they turned onto a quiet road lined with oak trees, pulling up to a small cemetery nestled among gentle hills. Without explanation, Alexander got out and walked toward the gates. Lily followed, understanding instinctively that this moment was significant. They walked together through rows of gravestones until Alexander stopped before a white marble headstone engraved with angels. Two names were etched into the stone: Rebecca Elizabeth Stone, beloved wife and mother, 1982-2013, Nathan Alexander Stone, our perfect angel. 2007-2013, Alexander stood motionless, his face a mask of controlled grief. Lily remained silent beside him, sensing he needed to do this in his own time. "I've never brought anyone here," he finally said, his voice rough. "Not since the funeral." Lily gently touched his arm. "Thank you for trusting me." "It's not about trust." Alexander's eyes remained fixed on the gravestone. "It's about understanding. I need you to understand why I am the way I am, why this connection between us terrifies me." He knelt down, brushing leaves from the base of the stone. "Nathan was the light of my life. Curious, funny, so smart it scared me sometimes. He was learning to play chess when..." His voice broke. "When it happened, the accident," Lily whispered. Alexander nodded. "Rebecca was taking him to a playdate. Rainy day. A truck driver fell asleep at the wheel, crossed the median. She tried to swerve." He closed his eyes. "Nathan died instantly. Rebecca lived for 3 days, long enough for her to wake up and learn our son was gone." Lily knelt beside him, tears streaming down her face for his pain. "The last thing she said to me was, 'I'm sorry,'" Alexander continued, his voice hollow, as if it was her fault, as if she could have done anything differently. 3 months later, I found her in our bathroom. She'd taken enough pills to... He couldn't finish. "Oh, Alexander," Lily whispered, her heart breaking for him. "After that, I threw myself into work, built Stone Enterprises into what it is today. Dated occasionally, but never let anyone close, until Claire." His laugh was bitter. "I thought I was ready to try again. We were engaged for a year. The wedding was planned, invitations sent. Then, the morning of the ceremony, she left a note, saying she couldn't go through with it, that she'd fallen in love with my brother James." "Your brother?" Lily gasped. "How could he? Half-brother," Alexander corrected. "Same father, different mothers. We were never close, but it was the ultimate betrayal." He stood abruptly, pacing in front of the grave. "So, you see, Lily, I don't just understand your humiliation. I've lived through worse, much worse. Is that why you helped me? Because you saw yourself in me?" Lily asked gently. Alexander turned to face her, his expression raw with emotion. "At first, yes. Then it became about using you to hurt Claire. Showing up at her wedding with a beautiful younger woman, making her regret her choice." Lily flinched at his honesty, but he pressed on. "But now," he ran a hand through his hair in frustration, "now I find myself caring about what happens to you, wanting to protect you, not just from Tyler or Jessica or social media vultures, but from myself, from what I might do to you without meaning to." "What do you mean?" "I'm not a good man, Lily," Alexander said bluntly. "I'm controlling, possessive. I've built walls so high that sometimes I don't remember what it's like to feel anything real. The night I kissed you, I broke my own rules. I'm not sure I can be what you need." "What if I don't know what I need?" Lily asked, her voice small. "What if I'm still figuring that out?" Alexander moved closer, reaching out to wipe a tear from her cheek. "Then we figure it out together, day by day." His phone buzzed in his pocket. Checking it, his expression darkened. "What is it?" Lily asked. "Tyler. And Jessica will be at the Winters' dinner tonight," he said grimly. "Robert Winters is Tyler's uncle." Lily felt the blood drain from her face. "You knew this might happen." "I suspected." Alexander's eyes met hers. "I won't force you to go, but if you do, it means facing them on your terms, not hiding away like you have something to be ashamed of." Lily looked down at the grave of Alexander's wife and son, thinking of all he had endured. Her own pain seemed smaller in comparison, but no less real. "I'll go," she decided, "but not as your fake cousin or your revenge prop, just as me." Alexander's eyes softened. "Lily Anderson, the strongest woman I know." As they walked back to the car, Alexander's hand found hers, their fingers intertwining naturally. Neither spoke of it, but something had shifted between them. A wall crumbling, a bridge forming over troubled waters. What neither of them realized was that the Winters' dinner would become a battleground neither was fully prepared for, and that Tyler and Jessica had plans of their own to humiliate Lily once more. The Winters estate sprawled across 2 acres in Brookline, its Georgian architecture illuminated by strategic lighting that highlighted its grandeur. Alexander's Bentley joined a line of luxury vehicles in the circular driveway as valets rushed to open doors for arriving guests. "Ready?" Alexander asked, his hand covering Lily's trembling one. She nodded, though her racing heart suggested otherwise. Her burgundy evening gown, another designer piece Alexander had purchased, made her look sophisticated beyond her 18 years. But inside, she felt like a child playing dress-up. "Remember," Alexander whispered as they approached the entrance. "You have nothing to be ashamed of. They're the ones who should be embarrassed." Robert Winters greeted them in the foyer, a distinguished man in his 60s with silver hair and shrewd eyes. "Alexander, so glad you could make it." His gaze shifted to Lily, curiosity evident. "And this must be the young lady I've heard so much about." "Robert, may I present Lily Anderson," Alexander said smoothly. "Lily, Dr. Robert Winters, head of cardiology at Massachusetts General and a valued investor in Stone Medical Research." If Winters recognized her name from Tyler's social media posts, he didn't show it. "Charmed, my dear. Please join the others in the drawing room. Dinner will be served shortly." The drawing room buzzed with Boston's elite. Doctors, academics, old money families. Lily felt eyes tracking her as Alexander guided her through the crowd, his hand protectively at the small of her back. Then she saw them. Tyler and Jessica stood near the fireplace, Jessica's baby bump more prominent in her emerald dress. They were speaking with an older couple who shared Tyler's features, his parents. When Tyler spotted Lily, he whispered something to Jessica, whose head snapped up, eyes narrowing. "Ignore them," Alexander murmured, steering Lily toward a different group. "Let them come to us." Throughout the pre-dinner mingling, Lily felt the weight of stares and whispers. She caught fragments of conversations. "That's the girl from the video and staying with Stone, and what does he see in her?" By the time they moved to the dining room, Lily's nerves were frayed. Then she saw the seating arrangement and nearly gasped. She and Alexander were placed directly across from Tyler and Jessica. "This isn't coincidence," Alexander whispered, pulling out her chair. "Someone arranged this deliberately." Dinner began with polite conversation about medicine, politics, the upcoming symphony season. Lily focused on remembering her etiquette lessons, which fork to use, how to hold her wine glass, when to speak, and when to listen. Halfway through the main course, Tyler's mother addressed her directly for the first time. "So, Lily, I understand. You were to attend Boston University this fall?" The table quieted, attention turning to her. "Yes, Mrs. Parker. I've deferred for a semester but plan to start in January." "How practical," the woman replied with a thin smile. "Though I imagine with your new connections, education seems less urgent." The implication hung in the air like poison gas. Before Lily could respond, Jessica chimed in, her voice syrupy. "Sweet. We were all so worried about you after the wedding. Running off with a stranger." She glanced at Alexander. "No matter how wealthy. But I see you've landed on your feet." Alexander's hand found Lily's under the table, squeezing gently. "Actually," he interjected, his voice dangerously soft, "Lily's academic achievements secured her admission to BU long before we met. Her intelligence is what first drew my attention." "Really?" Tyler said with feigned innocence. "I thought it might have been her other qualities." His eyes dropped suggestively to her body. A tense silence fell over the table. Robert Winters cleared his throat awkwardly. "Perhaps we should—" "I have a question," Alexander interrupted, reaching into his jacket pocket. "Since we're being so candid tonight." He pulled out a small velvet box, placing it on the table. "Lily, would you do me the honor of wearing this?" He opened the box, revealing a stunning sapphire and diamond ring that caught the light in dazzling brilliance. Collective gasps echoed around the table. "Alexander," Lily whispered, genuinely shocked. "It belonged to my grandmother," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I can think of no one more deserving to wear it than you." With deliberate care, he slipped the ring onto her finger, not her left hand, but her right. The message was, in clear, not an engagement but a claim, a declaration. "It's beautiful," she managed, tears threatening. "Not as beautiful as you," Alexander replied, then turned to face Tyler and Jessica. "I find it interesting that you two seem so concerned with Lily's welfare now, given how callously you treated her before." Tyler's face flushed. "You don't know anything about—" "I know everything," Alexander cut him off coldly. "About the affair that started 3 months before the wedding. About how you planned to jilt her all along. About the bets you made with your fraternity brothers on whether—" She'd break down at the altar, Jessica paled. "That's not true. My security team is very thorough," Alexander continued, his voice ice. "They found the text messages, the video chats. Would you like me to share what you called Lily when you thought no one was listening?" Robert Winters stood abruptly. "I think that's enough." "Yes, it is," Alexander agreed, rising and offering his hand to Lily. "Dr. Winters, I apologize for the disruption, but I cannot sit at the same table as people who would deliberately harm someone I care deeply about." As they walked out, leaving stunned silence behind, Lily felt something shift inside her. Pain, transforming into strength, humiliation into resolve. You didn't tell me about the ring, she whispered when they reached the car. Alexander's eyes were dark with emotion. Some decisions don't require contracts, Lily. In that moment, as he held her gaze under the starlit sky, Lily realized that the line between vengeance and love had begun to blur beyond recognition. 3 weeks after the disastrous winter's dinner, Lily sat at her desk in the blue bedroom that had become her sanctuary, staring at the cream-colored envelope in her hands. The Columbia University letterhead seemed to glow in the afternoon sunlight streaming through the window. The sapphire ring Alexander had given her glinted on her right hand as she broke the seal and unfolded the letter within. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she read the first line, then the second, then the entire page. "Oh my God," she whispered to the empty room. Martha knocked softly before entering with a tea tray. "I thought you might need—" She stopped, noticing Lily's expression. "What is it, dear? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Columbia," Lily managed, her voice trembling. "They've accepted me for their graduate program in English literature. Full scholarship, starting next semester." Martha set down the tray, her eyes widening. "But you haven't even started undergraduate studies yet." "I know." Lily handed her the letter. "They received my application materials from Boston University. Apparently, Professor Williams, my faculty advisor, sent them my writing samples without telling me. He says here that it's unprecedented, but my work showed extraordinary promise and maturity beyond my years." "Alexander will be thrilled," Martha said, scanning the letter. "This is a tremendous opportunity." The mention of Alexander made Lily's stomach twist. Their relationship had shifted dramatically since the night he'd given her the ring. No longer merely employer and employee, they existed in some undefined space between friends and something deeper. They'd shared dinners, long conversations, even innocent touches. His hand brushing hers, her head resting against his shoulder during a film. But nothing more. Nothing that crossed the invisible line they both seemed afraid to acknowledge. "Columbia is in New York," Lily said quietly. "I'd have to leave Boston, leave here, leave him." Martha's expression softened with understanding. "The contract was for 3 months. It's been nearly that already. This isn't about the contract anymore." Lily twisted the sapphire ring on her finger. "You know that? Then you need to talk." To him, Lily nodded, knowing Martha was right, but dreading the conversation nonetheless. She found Alexander in his home office that evening, his attention focused on his laptop screen. He looked up when she entered, his face softening in that way that had become familiar, a slight relaxation of his features reserved only for her. "I need to show you something," she said, holding out the Columbia letter. Alexander read it silently, his expression unreadable. When he finished, he set it carefully on his desk. "This is incredible, Lily, truly extraordinary." His voice was warm with genuine pride. "Few people are offered such an opportunity, especially at your age." "I know." She perched on the edge of his desk. "I never imagined something like this would happen to me." "You deserve it. Your talent is undeniable." Alexander stood, moving to the window. "When would you start?" "January." The word hung between them. "I'd need to move to New York before Christmas." Alexander nodded slowly. "Just over a month from now." "Yes." Lily watched him carefully. "I wanted to talk to you before I made any decision." He turned to face her, surprise evident in his eyes. "What is there to discuss? You have to accept." "Do I?" "Of course." His voice was firm. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And us?" The question slipped out before she could stop it. "What about whatever this is between us?" Alexander's jaw tightened. "There is no us, Lily. Not in the way you're implying." The words stabbed like icicles into her heart. "I see. No, you don't." He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "You're 18. I'm 35. You're just starting your life. I'm halfway through mine. You need to experience the world, not be tied to someone broken by it." "That's not fair," Lily protested. "You don't get to decide what I need." I've seen what happens when potential is sacrificed for sentiment, Alexander said, his voice hardening. Rebecca was a brilliant artist before she gave it all up to be Mrs. Stone. I'm not Rebecca. No, you're not, which is exactly why I won't let you make her mistakes. Alexander moved closer, his eyes intense. You're going to Columbia. You're going to become the writer you were meant to be. And you're just letting me go after everything. Tears threatened, but Lily fought them back. Alexander reached out, his fingers gently tracing the sapphire on her hand. I'm not letting you go. I'm setting you free. What if I don't want to be free? Her voice cracked. What if I want to stay? That's the fear talking. His tone softened. Fear of change, fear of the unknown. But greatness never comes from standing still, Lily. So, that's it? Our contract ends, I go to New York, and we just... What? Pretend these months never happened? Alexander was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice held a strange mix of resolve and regret. 2 years. What? Give yourself 2 years at Columbia. No contact with me, no visits, no calls, no messages. Become who you're meant to be without my influence. His eyes met hers. If after that time you still feel, whatever this is between us, then we can explore it. As equals. Lily felt as though the floor had dropped from beneath her feet. You want me to walk away for 2 entire years. I want you to walk toward your future. Alexander cupped her face in his hands. If I'm meant to be part of that future, I'll still be here when you're ready. That's cruel, she whispered. No, what would be cruel is letting you give up your dreams for a man who doesn't know if he's capable of giving you what you deserve. His thumbs gently wiped the tears now flowing freely down her cheeks. I care too much about you to risk destroying you, Lily. Later that night, Lily sat alone in the garden. The acceptance letter clutched in her hands. The choice before her seemed impossible, the opportunity of a lifetime, or the man who had saved her, challenged her, changed her. As the moon rose over the mansion's rooftop, she made her decision. 2 years can change everything, or nothing at all. Lily stood before the mirror in her Manhattan apartment, barely recognizing the confident woman who gazed back. At 20, she was no longer the broken girl in a wedding dress, but a rising literary star whose first collection of short stories had garnered critical acclaim. Her hair was shorter now, falling just past her shoulders in sophisticated layers, and her wardrobe had evolved from Alexander's carefully selected pieces to her own elegant style. Columbia had transformed her, challenging her intellect and nurturing her talent. She had friends, a small but loyal circle who knew nothing of viral videos or abandoned brides. She had admirers too, fellow students and professors who sought her company, her insights, her heart. Yet through it all, the sapphire ring remained. On her right hand, a constant reminder of the promise made 2 years ago. 2 years, no contact, no calls, no messages, the hardest 2 years of her life. Lily checked her watch. An hour until the Stone Foundation Gala for Children's Medical Research began at the Plaza Hotel. She hadn't planned to attend, had tossed the invitation aside when it arrived 3 weeks ago. But Martha's handwritten note that accompanied it had changed everything. He still wears the watch you gave him. Every day, without fail. The watch had been her parting gift to Alexander, a simple vintage timepiece she'd found in an antique shop. Nothing compared to his collection of luxury watches, but she'd had his initials and Nathan's birth date engraved on the back. So you'll always have him with you, she'd said, as he'd opened the box on their last night together. Lily smoothed the midnight blue gown she'd chosen for tonight, the same color as the dress she'd worn to Harvard 2 years ago when Alexander had first kissed her. A deliberate choice. A message he would understand. The Plaza's ballroom glittered with New York's elite, celebrities, business magnates, political figures. Lily moved through the crowd, scanning faces, her heart pounding painfully against her ribs. Then she saw him. Alexander stood across the room, somehow both exactly as she remembered and completely different. His hair had more silver at the temples, the lines around his eyes slightly deeper, but it was his expression that struck her most. a quiet serenity she'd never seen before. He was speaking with an older couple, his back partially turned to her. Lily froze, suddenly uncertain. What if he'd moved on? What if these 2 years had erased whatever had sparked between them? As if sensing her presence, Alexander turned. Their eyes met across the crowded room, and everything else faded away. For a breathless moment, neither moved. Then Alexander excused himself and walked toward her, his gaze never leaving hers. The crowd seemed to part instinctively for him, creating a direct path between them. When he reached her, Alexander said nothing at first, his eyes taking in every detail of her face as if committing it to memory all over again. "Lily," he finally said, her name a caress on his lips. "Alexander," her voice wavered slightly. "It's been a long time. 2 years, 4 months, and 16 days. His mouth curved into a ghost of a smile. "Not that I've been counting. I read about your foundation's work," she said. "The Nathan Stone Children's Hospital wing is going to help so many families." "I have a gift for you," Alexander said abruptly. Reaching into his pocket, he withdrew a small, worn book. Her book, she realized with a start. "I've read it 12 times. Your words, they kept me company when you couldn't." Lily blinked back tears. "And did they convince you?" "Of what?" "That I'm my own person now, that I've become who I needed to be." Alexander's gaze softened. "You were always extraordinary, Lily. You just needed to discover that for yourself." Around them, the gala continued, music playing, people laughing, champagne flowing. But they existed in their own pocket of time, suspended between past and future. "I saw Tyler and Jessica last month," Lily said quietly. "They're divorced already. He didn't even recognize me." "And did that matter to you?" Alexander asked carefully. "No." Lily's smile was genuine. "That girl who cared what Tyler thought died a long time ago." Alexander held out his hand, palm up, an invitation, not a demand. "Dance with me?" As they moved across the floor, Lily felt the familiar warmth of his hand at her waist, the strength in his shoulders beneath her fingertips. "I kept my promise," he murmured against her ear. "I let you go so you could fly, and I kept mine," Lily replied. "I became who I needed to be. Now I'm back to find out if you're still who I want." Alexander's arms tightened around her. "And am I?" Instead of answering, Lily raised herself on tiptoes and kissed him. Not the kiss of a broken girl grateful for rescue, but of a woman choosing her own path, her own heart, her own love. When they finally broke apart, Alexander pressed his forehead to hers. "Welcome home, Lily." And in that moment, the circle that began with humiliation and tears completed itself with triumph and joy, proving that sometimes the end of one story is just the beginning of another far more beautiful one. The Stone Foundation Gala continued, long into the night, a glittering celebration of hope for children who had lost so much. As midnight approached, Alexander led Lily through the crowd toward the stage where the orchestra played. "Where are we going?" she asked, breathless from dancing and the sheer joy of being in his arms again. "You'll see," he replied with an enigmatic smile that made her heart flutter. When they reached the edge of the stage, Alexander whispered something to the conductor, who nodded and signaled for the music to fade. Alexander guided Lily up the short steps to the stage. The spotlight, finding them as curious murmurs, rippled through the audience. "Ladies and gentlemen," Alexander's voice carried across the now silent ballroom, "I apologize for interrupting the festivities, but tonight is special beyond what any of you could know." Lily felt her cheeks warm as hundreds of eyes turned toward them. 2 years ago," Alexander continued, his gaze fixed on Lily, "I met a young woman in the most unusual circumstances. She had just experienced one of the most painful moments of her life, yet showed more dignity and courage than anyone I've ever known." Gasps and whispers spread through the crowd as people began to make connections. Lily caught sight of Martha near the front, tears in her eyes. "For months, she brought light back into a life I thought would remain in darkness," Alexander said, his voice growing thick with emotion. Then I let her go, because I believed she deserved the chance to discover her own strength without my shadow. He turned fully to Lily now, taking both her hands in his. That was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than building my company, harder than facing my deepest losses. 2 years without hearing your voice, seeing your smile, feeling your presence. It felt like an eternity. Tears welled in Lily's eyes as Alexander reached into his pocket and withdrew a small velvet box. Not black like the one that had held the sapphire ring, but white. I promised myself that if you came back to me, if you chose me after finding your own path, I would never let you go again. Alexander lowered himself to one knee, a collective gasp rising from the audience. Lily Anderson, you saved me in ways you may never fully understand. Will you let me spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of your love? Will you marry me? He opened the box, revealing a ring that stole Lily's breath. A princess-cut diamond, surrounded by tiny sapphires that matched her right-hand ring. Through her tears, Lily saw not just the man before her, but the journey that had brought them to this moment, the humiliation that had become triumph, the pain that had forged strength, the separation that had cemented love. Yes, she whispered, then louder so everyone could hear. Yes, Alexander, yes. The ballroom erupted in applause as Alexander slipped the ring onto her finger and rose to his feet, gathering her into an embrace that felt like coming home after the longest journey. I love you, he said against her hair, words he had never spoken before. I have since that night in the library when you made me remember what it felt like to care. As Alexander kissed her, Lily caught movement in her peripheral vision, a familiar face, watching from near the entrance. Tyler stood, frozen, Jessica nowhere to be seen. His expression was unreadable from this distance, but she could imagine his shock, seeing the girl he'd abandoned at the altar now being proposed to by one of the wealthiest men in America. When Alexander finally released her, the orchestra resumed playing, and well-wishers crowded around to congratulate them. Later, as they made their way toward the exit, Lily found herself face to face with Tyler. Lily, he said, his voice uncertain, congratulations. Alexander's arm tightened protectively around her waist, but Lily placed a reassuring hand on his chest. Thank you, Tyler, she replied, surprised to find she felt nothing but a distant pity for the man who had once held her heart. How are you? Managing, he admitted with a grimace. Jessica left 6 months ago. She's with someone else now, the baby. It turns out it wasn't even mine. Once, this revelation would have devastated Lily. Now, she simply nodded with genuine compassion. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you find happiness, Tyler. I truly do. As they walked away, Alexander murmured, "That was generous of you." Lily smiled up at her fiancé. It's easy to forgive when you realize their cruelty led you exactly where you needed to be. Outside, snow had begun to fall, transforming New York into a winter wonderland. Alexander pulled Lily close, snowflakes catching in her hair like tiny diamonds. From abandoned bride to published author and fiancé of Alexander Stone, he mused. Quite a journey. Our journey is just beginning, Lily replied, her heart full. And I wouldn't change a single step that brought us here. Not even the painful uns. As they kissed beneath the gently falling snow, Lily knew with absolute certainty that what had once seemed like life's cruelest moment had actually been its greatest gift, the first step on a path that had led her home. 1 year after, Alexander's proposal, the grand ballroom of the Beacon Hill mansion, was transformed into an enchanted garden. White roses and lilies cascaded from crystal vases, while fairy lights twinkled like stars against the midnight blue ceiling. Unlike Lily's first attempt at marriage, a small-town church wedding with folding chairs and homemade decorations, this celebration radiated elegance and intimacy. "Are you ready, dear?" Martha asked, adjusting Lily's veil with trembling hands. At 70, Martha had become more than a housekeeper. She was family, the mother figure Lily needed during the hardest transitions of her life. "I've been ready for 3 years," Lily replied, smoothing the custom-designed gown that hugged her curves before flowing into a modest train. Unlike her first wedding dress, this one wasn't traditional white. The pearl champagne color complemented her golden skin, while subtle sapphire accents matched the engagement ring that now sat alongside the diamond on her left hand. "He's waiting," Martha said softly. "And this time, you're marrying the right man." The ceremony was intimate. Only 50 guests, including Lily's parents and sister Emma, Alexander's closest business associates, and Lily's new friends from Colombia. As Lily walked down the aisle, her eyes never left Alexander's. The man who had rescued her on her darkest day now stood ready to share her brightest ones. "You saved me," Alexander whispered as she reached him. "We saved each other," she corrected with a knowing smile. Their vows were deeply personal, referencing their unusual beginning and the journey that had led them from humiliation to healing. When Alexander slipped the wedding band next to her engagement ring, his hands steady and sure, Lily felt the final pieces of her past trauma melt away. Later, during the reception, Lily noticed a commotion near the entrance. Martha approached, looking concerned. "Tyler and Jessica are here," she said quietly. "They weren't invited, but security wasn't sure." "It's okay," Lily assured her. "Let them in." Alexander appeared at her side, his expression questioning. "Are you certain?" Lily nodded, completely. She watched as Tyler entered, alone, Jessica nowhere to be seen. He looked smaller somehow, less confident than the boy who had once crushed her heart. He hesitated at the edge of the crowd, clutching a small gift. "I should go speak with him," Lily said. Alexander squeezed her hand. "Do you want me to come with you?" "No. This is something I need to do alone." As she approached, Tyler's eyes widened, taking in her transformation. "Lily, you look incredible." "Thank you." Her voice was steady, kind but distant. "I didn't expect to see you today. I know I wasn't invited." He shifted uncomfortably. I needed to see you, to apologize properly." "Where's Jessica?" Lily asked. "Gone. For good this time." Tyler's eyes reflected genuine regret. "She was never pregnant with my child. It was all a lie to trap me. By the time I realized how badly I'd messed up, you were already with him." He nodded toward Alexander, who was watching them from across the room. "I'm sorry it didn't work out for you," Lily said, and meant it. "Are you happy?" Tyler asked suddenly. "Really happy?" Lily smiled, glancing at Alexander. "Happier than I ever imagined possible. What happened at our wedding was devastating at the time, but now I see it was actually the first step toward finding where I truly belonged." Tyler nodded slowly. "I've been thinking a lot about that day, about how cruel we were. I was so young and stupid." "We were all young," Lily replied, "but only some of us were cruel." She accepted the small gift he offered, a first edition of Jane Austen's Persuasion, with gracious thanks. As Tyler turned to leave, she felt nothing but compassion for the boy she had once believed was her future. The pain that had defined her for so long had transformed into something else, understanding, forgiveness, perhaps even gratitude. Alexander joined her as Tyler disappeared through the doors. "Are you okay?" "I'm perfect," Lily said, leaning into his embrace. "I finally understand that what seemed like the end of my world was actually just the beginning. If Tyler hadn't humiliated me that day, I never would have found you. Then I suppose I owe him my thanks," Alexander murmured against her hair. They returned to their guests, dancing, laughing, celebrating not just their marriage, but the complicated path that had led them to each other. As midnight approached, Alexander led Lily onto the balcony overlooking the gardens where they had first begun to fall in love. "From jilted bride to my wife," he said, drawing her close. "Quite a story." "The best stories have difficult beginnings," Lily replied. "They make the happy endings that much sweeter." As Alexander kissed her under the same stars that had witnessed her darkest moments, Lily knew with absolute certainty that sometimes life's cruelest blows lead to its greatest blessings, if only we have the courage to keep walking forward. What painful rejection are you still carrying that's actually redirecting you towards something better? Think about it. How many times has your worst moment eventually led you to a blessing you never saw coming? Lily's humiliation became her salvation, but only because she had the courage to keep moving forward. What would happen if you viewed your deepest heartbreak not as the end of your story, but as the unexpected first chapter of your greatest triumph? Don't let past humiliation define your future. Take control of your narrative today. If this story touched your heart, smash that subscribe button right now and hit the notification bell so you never miss another life-changing story. And if you're ready for more emotional journeys that will inspire you to transform your own life, click on the video appearing on your screen right now. Remember, sometimes the people who hurt you are actually setting you free. You just can't see it yet. See you in the next video.